citizens should have allowed Diane Bellamy Small to be removed from office regarding the RMA report. She is a liar, case in point. An officer referred to a Hispanic officer as a, quote, wetback, end quote. Chief Ken Miller took no disciplinary action. Diane Bellamy Small stupidly lied and indicated to citizens that I was informed of the use of the racial epithet while a captain and took no action. That is a lie, and Diane Bellamy Small knows that it is a lie. Diane, name the person who reported the violation to me while I was a captain and summoned them to the council chambers. I'm going to wait here for the entire meeting for the person to arrive. Diane, you know the person won't come because they don't exist, confirming that you are a corrupt liar. The captain responsible for the officer not being disciplined is James Henson. The same Henson that Zach said is tainted, should have been fired years ago, and is not to be trusted. The same Henson that Ken Miller paraded in front of the council and citizens. And the same Henson that is suing the city, claiming he was discriminated against. The assistant chief responsible is Dwight Crotts. The same Dwight Crotts that you have heard on YouTube, framing officers in investigations and committing a crime while doing so. The chief responsible is Ken Miller, the same Ken Miller that should have been terminated for, among other things, allowing Lamont Armstrong to be framed and not taking corrective action. Diane, Henson, Crotts, and Miller is the chain of command responsible for not disciplining the officer that called the Hispanic officer a wetback. Diane, in the summer of 2010, at Stephanie's restaurant on Roundman Road, I reported GPD criminal violations and discrimination to you. You covered your ears and stated, quote, I can't hear that. You know I can't hear that, end quote. You then stated, quote, you're going to sue, right? I know you're going to sue, right, end quote. Then now you said it, Diane. Once I realized you were committing malfeasance and were not going to do your job, I reluctantly agreed to sue the innocent taxpayers. Diane, you lied to citizens, falsely indicating that I knew an officer had been called a wetback as a captain and took no action. Diane, instead of doing your job, you encouraged me to sue the taxpaying citizens of Greensboro, as opposed to investigating complaints I gave you in person in the summer of 2010 at Stephanie's, and you received by email during the same summer. Your malfeasance has resulted in the most division in the Greensboro community since 1979. Robbie, make a motion to vote the lying, malfeasant Diane Bellamy Small out of office right now. Robbie, make a motion to vote the lying, malfeasant Diane Bellamy Small out of office right now. Robbie, make a motion to vote the lying, malfeasant Diane Bellamy Small out of office right now. Robbie, make a motion to vote the lying, malfeasant Diane Bellamy Small out of office right now. Have a good night.
Thank you, Mr. Cherry.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
First of all, obviously folks do not know the process by which to remove a person from office. I've been there. It requires a recall. Second, I'm glad that there are two sides to every story. I was concerned about Mr. Cherry as a person when I saw him unshaven, disheveled at Stephanie's that day, and I went up out of pure compassion to ask him how he was doing. He was still an employee at that time and wanted to talk to me about personnel matters. And I simply responded, I cannot discuss personnel matters with you. He said, well, stand here and listen. So I allowed him to go on for about 2 minutes, and then I said to him, Charles, I got to go now. I got somebody waiting on me. It saddens me that, cheap shots don't matter. I mean, don't seem to matter to some people. I don't say stuff that I don't believe to be the truth. I am not a liar. I don't like being called a liar. And obviously the constituents of District 1 don't think that I'm a liar. They've reelected me 3 times.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Dr. Wade.
Madam Manager, have we met with Mr. Cherry and tried to, he's very passionate about the issues he brings up here. And whether we like the issues he brings or not, he has every right to do that. Have we tried to meet with Mr. Cherry? I know he was one of the first police officers I really met when I came on this board. And he was very polite, very cordial. I thought he did a good job. And I don't think he would be this passionate if he didn't really believe what he was saying. Now, it doesn't mean that everyone agrees with that, but he is passionate about it. Is there some way we can meet with him and maybe come to some agreement or some way to come to an understanding with some of the complaints he brings? I mean, he's here every meeting.
There has not been a meeting, at least not with myself. Mr. Cherry has been writing the city and the city manager's office in particularly, at least for the past year to year and a half. Each complaint and claim against various people, when they seem to, if there was something that we weren't already looking into, we did take the appropriate steps to look into them. We responded to him when there are any new issues that are brought up that are related to city business. We have found that even with our responses, he still has made the same claims in further messages that he has sent to the city. I am not sure if there is a point that will satisfy Mr. Cherry, but we will continue, as I said, and as we've done in the past. If there's a claim that comes up that we are not aware of, it needs to be investigated, we take those steps and take appropriate action from there. If there is an item that he hasn't brought up in a previous message that we haven't responded to, we respond to those. But from the pattern that we have seen, he doesn't seem to like our responses, and we're not sure that we can expect anything different from a meeting with him.
Well, I would just like for us to come to some resolution or some compromise or see. I don't think he comes every week without being passionate about what he's saying, but I would hope that we could work together in some way, find some way. Have you actually met with Mr. Cherry?
I have not met with Mr. Cherry, and he is very passionate about what he's saying and about the claims he has made about members of council and members of the manager's staff. I will take a look at what we have on file and get back to council in terms of how we plan to proceed.
You know, Madam Manager, I'm going to object here. You know, this is going on and on and on, and I am finished as a council person. The amount of disrespect that has been shown to city officials and to this council from this podium by Mr. Cherry, in my mind, is enough for me to say, unless you've got something that you've got to investigate based on your protocol, I can't, as a member of this city council, ask you to go further and meet with someone who has disrespected you and just about everybody on this board. Now, passion is one thing, disrespect is another. And I've had it in terms of my own personal tolerance for the level of disrespect that Mr. Cherry has had from members of this body and members of this organization that are trying to do their jobs. Now, I think it's also important to say that Mr. Cherry has a lawsuit against the city of Greensboro. And I don't believe that it's appropriate for us to sit here and negotiate with somebody that we're in court with. And in fact, our city attorney has asked us time and time again not to engage in this type of conversation from this podium. But I felt like it's something that has to be said, that enough is enough. And I know as mayor I've had enough, and if somebody else on this council has had enough, you know, I think it's pretty clear. Dr. Wade.
Mr. Mayor, having enough hasn't come to any resolution. Mr. Cherry's still here every time. My thoughts are, is there some way we can come to some type of resolution? But if our attorney is telling us that we can't meet or talk with Mr. Cherry, that's a completely different item. I'm just trying to see if we can come to some
He's only said that 10 times in 10 different meetings, and I think it's time to say this is enough and move on. I mean, we're taking up time from other citizens that want to do things, productive things for the city of Greensboro by dealing with this every meeting. And I understand he has a right to speak, but I don't have a right to waste any more time from this council's perspective on endless conversation and disrespect, and that's where we are.
Well, Mr. Attorney, what is our obligation as public servants to a citizen that has come before us that now has a lawsuit against us? Do we not have any obligation to speak with this citizen? I just want to know where we stand, because Mr. Cherry comes every time.
Councilmember Wade, I would note that I've encouraged you and all members of council to not engage Mr. Cherry, because even if you have no obligation, especially because he made the choice to file a lawsuit against the city. To engage him can endanger the law, the defense that we have been maintaining in all the lawsuits. So I would again encourage members of the council to not engage Mr. Cherry. We will not engage Mr. Cherry either, except through the process that we're required to in the court system.
So I want to come to a resolution tonight if we can. So in other words, council members cannot communicate with Mr. Cherry and the city staff cannot. So the only means this is going to be resolved is through the courts.
No, ma'am. In terms of, I'm encouraging you to not engage with him. I do not recommend any of you talk to him. I do not recommend any of you meet with him. Staff has needed to meet with him for various reasons, but I think we keep those meetings to a minimum. I do not meet with him because he is represented by counsel, and I cannot meet with him and discuss matters with Mr. Cherry, despite the fact that he sends me the same letters that he sends you. So my recommendation is that you do not engage Mr. Cherry. He has the right to speak. We are working on the rules of conduct, which will hopefully assist you in those issues in dealing with what you hear from the podium. But I would again recommend that you not engage him, especially because we're involved in litigation with him.
Well, I think the citizens need to know exactly what's going on, because he is here every week, and no one ever comments on why we can't speak or what we should do, or we just say, maybe we don't like what he has to say. So you're telling us that we shouldn't communicate with him and that we're being sued by Mr. Cherry, and so only staff should speak with him. Is that your recommendation?
My recommendation is you not engage him. And if that means you feel that means don't talk to him, I'm happy if you don't talk to him either.
All right. I think this is something that we've discussed numerous times in the past. This is not a new conversation tonight, and we need to move on to the other speakers from the floor. Mr. Foxworth.